Hello, my name is Augustus Korma. I was born and raised in Liberia until about 16 years old. In 1993, we had our last civil war, which my mother did not make it through. I was born to a mother, Alberta Tezu Selma, and my father, Augustus Bobo Korma. They were both high school sweethearts, and my mother had me and my sister, and my father ended up coming to the United States on some government scholarship. And while they were here, their scholarship got terminated when we had our first phase of the Civil War. My mother, Alberta, had to continue her schooling, and she ended up enlisting or joining the Liberian National Police Force. She was one of the first women police officer in our country history. She was the only police officer in our county, which is Lofa County in Liberia. But she raised my sister and I without our father, and through the help of my grandparents, we were all pretty okay as far as standards of living in Liberia. So we attended Catholic school all of our life, my sister and I, until the war came. So during the war, that kind of messed up schooling and all of that other stuff. And our father came into our life when, actually in '89 was the first time we saw our father, and he left us, came back to the States, and then not long later, the war started. So, and that was his first attempt to actually get us out of Liberia. He tried to get us out of Liberia in '89, but we were denied a visa, I think, yes. And then the war came, our mother passed away, and for whatever reason, our father went to his representative, which was Ted Kennedy at the time, who wrote a letter to support him as a United States citizen with 2 children in the country. During our Civil War, as a child, I was around the age of 10 to 14 years old. I fit that group of young men and women that the rebels were targeting as recruits. One, you were captured. Relatives of yours were either murdered, so they can use it as an intimidation and get you as a child soldier. Soldiers were drugged up and basically forced to do things, and did things out of their own will because they were drugged. They were kids. They murdered their relatives in front of them, so they really didn't have the sympathy of another person anymore. Young women were considered slaves, so like my sister and I mean, we were hidden, or we spent many time in the forest and just trying to avoid checkpoints, trying to avoid main roads and stuff like that. Like I said, I had a strong family. My uncles, my aunts, my grandmother, including my mother, who always thought of us highly. She knew we were going to be something. She did everything she could to protect us and keep us out of harm's way. She never really put us out there to go fend for food like other families did. And that may have been one of the reasons why we were safe, because that's how those guys were captured and actually recruited into sex slavery and soldiers and all of those things. So we were kept away. The elders in our family went and fend for food for us, and I believe that's what kept me here, or that's what got me here today. And some of my friends that were captured or were taken into battle or whatever, the ones that didn't die today in our country, I consider, they call them Zogos. They're basically call them crazy people or whatever in Liberia too, because they have no relatives. They really had no nothing else to fall back on. So they're just in the streets, and there hasn't been any kind of a rehabilitation for those guys. The atrocities were just bad. It's stuff that some of us try to not think about. Just imagine walking through, going to a checkpoint, walking from a village to a village, to another village, and you get to a checkpoint, and they got everybody in line, and they get to pick one or two persons out of the line and ask them questions. If they don't answer those questions correctly, they assume they're a member of another ethnic group, and they're taken in the back or in front of everybody and killed through all kinds of means, beheading and slaughtered and all that other stuff. Women, some of these young kids would bet what sex of the child that woman is carrying, and they have to kill that person and basically perform a C-section on them. Those are sites that some of us don't even try to remember, because it was just terrible. We all, almost probably 80 or 90% of us Liberians that went through the war has those stories. Somebody, mom, dad, or sister or uncle, I experienced some of the things that I've just mentioned. But I also believe that I was put here to be able to change some of those things. I did not get spared just because I was a chosen one. I happen to be the one that's here, and I think I can help make a change and make sure people, young people my age now, don't go through the things that we went through as a child. I live in Illinois now with my family, 2 beautiful girls and a son, and my wife, Jessica Kwama. I got involved in philanthropy and humanitarianism through what I saw as a child, the help that we got from the international community, strangers that came to our country to help us when these ill things was happening. Bullets were flying, bodies were everywhere, but you had strangers that were there helping us. And I've always said to myself, if I was ever able to help do the same thing, I would at some point in my life. Came to the United States, went through high school, graduated, had an opportunity to attend the University of Massachusetts as a pre-med and a couple other schools in Boston. I went to school for a couple years and on a full scholarship, soccer scholarship also. So I ended up joining the military, and through the United States Navy, I was able to continue my education and got into biomedical engineering. I have since worked for several companies. Currently work for OSF Healthcare as a lead clinical engineer servicing X-ray, MRI, IV pumps, you name it. So my love for healthcare has just expanded to another gift that I have, which was fixing things and trying to figure out how things work. Through that, I worked at Pekin Hospital. I ran into some really good friends that always wanted to know my story, and sharing my story with a lot of them and their passion for just helping other people, they decided to grant one of my wishes, which was to have a mission trip to my home country of Liberia, which we had intended on going in 2014, but due to other incidents like the Ebola outbreak, we were unable to go. A few years later, after I left the organization, went to OSF St. Francis Hospital, my good friend Cindy Justice called me back and said, hey, do you want to do this trip again? I go, yeah, I would love to. And planned a whole year of it, and we were able to do it. Went to Liberia last year, November 2017. Just the impact that I saw actually encouraged me to ask them to want to do more. And I didn't know if they could, but I could tell by their interaction that this was going to be very easy, convincing. I knew they already knew what they wanted to do. They just needed somebody to say, hey, let's get on board and do this. And I'm just happy to see where this is going to take us. This whole area was kind of new to us. We wanted some kind of guidance. We wanted to work with an organization that could steer us the right way, but also help us do the things that we want to do, so we didn't make the mistakes that others have done. So we reached out to several organizations, and one of the organizations that we hope would take us on would be Christian Medical and Dental Association. We hope and pray that in the next few weeks that will come to fruition, and we'll be able to continue our mission to Liberia. I feel like I'm a blessed person to have been given the opportunity to leave a continent that would have probably destroyed me. My true potential would have never been met if I didn't have the opportunity to leave. And I'm just trying to reach out and extend those same opportunities to young people that would have never had the opportunity to meet the friends that I'm taking down there. Our organization is hoping to provide scholarships and for students in healthcare, and hopefully do other things like provide employment through some of our affiliation with facilities down there that may employ these young men and women of God that can continue the Christian ministry, but also provide adequate health care to the people of Liberia through our Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you for listening to my story. With your help, our organization, Lions Love of Liberia, would love to continue giving back to a country through providing scholarship for young Christian medical professionals to continue to build our country healthcare system. With your help, more young people like me will have the opportunity to make a difference in the world. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching my story.